Hello, everyone, and welcome to People of Interest. I'm your host, Miguel Guanipa. The show, as you know, is premised on the idea that everyone has a story, and by maybe having people come and tell their story, we can be encouraged, enlightened, and maybe even inspired. Today, my guest is Jeannie Hebert, also known as Pasqualina Gina Mastro Giovanni Hebert. And she's here to share her story with us. Welcome, Jeannie.
Thank you, Miguel.
Thanks for joining me.
My pleasure to be here. Yeah.
I'm very glad that you decided without even, you didn't even ask anything. I said, would you like to join me in my show? And you were right on it, and that's very nice.
Sure. Well, Miguel, we've partnered on a number of
We have?
activities here.
Yes, we have.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
work
do.
on the Shop Small
Yep.
and work with Christine, your lovely wife, and Faye,
Mm-hmm.
your daughter. So I know a little bit about you.
A little bit.
And actually, I don't know if people know what a great craftsman you are.
Oh, no, we're not talking about that. Enough about me. Let's talk about me now. Jeannie joins me in the Shop Small every year.
Mm-hmm.
And I get to spend 6 to 7 hours together with her, bringing people in and saying hello to people that come into the event.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
a lot of fun.
It is a fun event. It's
And
great.
today, I'm hoping that we spend similar time. I'm gonna be asking you things
Sure.
about you, about your life, and I'm sure you're a wonderful person, very
Thank you.
smart person. You were involved in the community, and you have a good friend, and a whole bunch of
you.
other things. I don't know the bad things. Maybe you can tell me the bad things later, but the good
We
things.
tend to forget the bad things.
You forget
don't
the bad
we?
things.
Don't we tend to forget the bad things? I think that's the way that we heal each other, is we forget the bad things.
Oh
Yeah.
yes, yeah. Or deal with the bad things
Yeah.
and then let them go.
That's right. Let
Not-
it go.
Not just forget about them. I forget after you deal with them.
Yeah.
Face them. As I was listening to, I don't know if you know Jordan Peterson,
Oh.
and
no.
he's kind of a psychoanalyst or whatever. He was talking about how he tells his patients. He says, "I never tell my patients you okay the way you are.
Mhm.
I never do that," because he says that's kind of like a lot of people, a lot of psychoanalysts sometimes do that. They say, "You're fine the way you are. You're okay." He says, "No, I don't tell them that. You tell them you're not fine the way you are. You have a lot of years ahead of you to make yourself better.
Right.
You can always
Every
get
day.
better." So, anyway,
Yeah.
but that's what
Good.
you reminded me of when you said that. The first thing I'd like to talk about is that wonderful name, Pasqualina Gina Mastro Giovanni. Did I say it right?
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Now, Pasqualina and Gina rhyme.
No.
So-
Yeah. My father was Pasquale.
Okay.
Italians always name you after someone,
Mm-hmm.
but it was it was Pat. You know, my mom was British. I'm first generation American. Both of my parents were immigrants,
Mm-hmm.
British and Italian, which seems like an odd combination. But I found my mom was really Scottish. There's a lot of those two ethnicities joining together.
Mm-hmm.
Jay Leno was Scottish and Italian, and there's a number of others. And my mother's name was Stella.
So the Scots are finding the Italians.
guess,
Just
I
looking up in
guess.
the highlands and seeing far away.
My mother had bright red hair and green eyes, and she was beautiful, little woman, maybe 100 pounds, 4'11". But you didn't mess with Stella.
Stella?
You didn't mess with her at all. I could still see her getting on a chair and slapping my brother for
Oh.
mouthing off.
Back in the old
Yeah,
days.
yeah. I'll tell you, my parents would be in jail now if.
A lot of parents, yeah.
Oh yeah, I would get.
My parents, I know, would be.
Oh my lord, yeah.
But
no.
they were very good. My parents were very good.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
just
my
a different
parents were-
discipline.
Exactly,
back
it was
then.
totally different.
And look at me, I
and
turned out okay, except
Yeah,
for this
me
twitch that I
too.
got in my eye. But that's okay.
Very respectful. You were taught respect and
Yeah.
work ethic. You know, we all had chores and everything. I had two brothers, and yeah. So I mean, it was a fun childhood.
So
We had a
your
lot of fun.
your mom was Scottish.
Yeah, well, yeah, British Scottish.
British Scottish.
Yeah, came over through Canada, but
Yeah.
originally from Swindon, England. Yeah,
England.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Was she
Maiden
was
name
like,
Turpin. So yeah, which my uncle lives in Grafton, so maybe some people even know him, George. He's like 92 now. Yeah.
What's the name again?
George Turpin. Yeah,
Turpin.
Turpin. Yeah.
Was she like a hardy stock kind of a woman? Or?
She was tough. She
Yeah.
was tough for, a tiny little woman. She worked very hard. She was married before she married my dad. So I was brought up Episcopalian because when my dad married her, the Roman Catholic priest told him he couldn't because she was a sinner because she was divorced. So
She was Episcopalian?
she was Episcopalian. Well, because she was divorced, and of
Yeah.
course the Catholic Church
Oh.
didn't accept that. So I was brought up Episcopalian, so I was like the only one with an Italian name. And
Oh, is that right?
yeah, we went to church in Worcester at All Saints Church, the big church off Pleasant Street there.
And your father was Italian.
Yeah, yeah.
So who-
Shrewsbury St. Anne's Church. Yeah,
St. Anne's Church.
yeah.
Who did the most talking in the family, your father or your mother?
Probably my mother. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But my father, if he said something, you did it.
Yeah.
You didn't mess around. You didn't ask twice. You didn't
Is that
mouth
right?
off. That's it. No,
And you have brothers and sisters too?
I had
or
2 stepbrothers,
Two
half
stepbrothers.
brothers. Yeah,
from your
much older
mother's
than me.
First marriage.
Yeah,
Okay.
and their dad was Norwegian, so
Wow.
I didn't look anything like them. I was always the little brown one. They were very tall, blonde, blue-eyed, green-eyed,
Mm-hmm.
and then there was me. I looked just like my dad, dark little Italian. But it was a great childhood.
Yeah.
We grew up in an Italian neighborhood, and everybody watched out for everybody else. And I'll tell you, if you did anything wrong before you got home, your mother
Yeah.
knew about it
Everybody
because somebody
knew?
called and told.
Like everybody had their iPhones on and stuff? or-
No,
Oh,
you didn't need
well,
iPhones.
this wasn't that far away, was it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my Lord, yeah.
Yeah?
And my mom worked in a factory, and my dad was a custodian,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
for the school system.
So you were telling me a little bit about that earlier.
Yep.
There was some kind of emphasis, a little bit of emphasis on that because you felt somewhat, what you call, I mean, you could say somewhat humble beginnings. In
Yeah,
your
we
life.
weren't wealthy, but
Yeah.
we didn't realize it. I
You
mean,
didn't think about it.
no, I had fun. Like my dad, we didn't have rubbish pickup at that time in Shrewsbury, so you went to the dump on Saturdays, and going to the dump with my dad was like going to the store, because we'd find bicycle parts, and he'd come back home and put a bicycle together for me, or
Really?
we'd find toys somebody threw away, and he would
Oh.
fix them up. And
So it was pretty handy too.
oh yeah, oh my dad could fix
He
anything.
wasn't above, it was something that was perfectly
No.
fine, you know.
Brought up in the Depression, 13 kids in his family. He told me the story how White City was a big amusement park in Shrewsbury.
White City.
Yeah, which
Okay.
is where there's a White City shopping plaza in Shrewsbury now. I don't know if where the Shaw's is, and do you know
You know
Shrewsbury?
who you're talking to, right?
Yeah, but have you been to Shrewsbury? You know where
I have
Trader
been
Joe's
maybe,
is?
yeah, a couple of times.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
just before the bridge, before you go to Worcester, that was White City Amusement Park.
Oh.
And when I was a little girl, I used to go there all the time. We had a lot of fun. But my dad was there, and when they probably first began, my dad was born in 1917. So he told me stories of how they had a greased pig contest, and he
Oh.
won. He caught the pig, and
Yeah.
he said it fed them for a whole winter.
Oh, so you get to keep the pig
Yeah,
if you catch
yeah.
it. Oh.
So they butchered it, and it fed them for the whole winter.
How come
And
they don't do that anymore? Sounds like so
well,
much fun.
it's okay. I'm a vegetarian. That's probably why I'm a vegetarian. But we always
Oh.
had animals. We had chickens and rabbits and dogs. And my uncle lived next door. He had a horse. And
In Shrewsbury?
in Shrewsbury, yeah. Because then, there was a field next door to us. It wasn't as built up as it is now.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the pond was at the end of our street, Jordan Pond. I learned to swim there. There's no swimming there now. I walk the dogs around there. We fish. People still fish there.
Oh.
Learned to skate there. It was fun. It was a fun neighborhood. Everybody, I want to say, played with everyone growing up. I remember sitting on the stoop with my girlfriend Joanne Shumack, who's still my girlfriend.
Joanne,
Yeah.
she's still around and she's
Yeah, she
you know-
works at Sharfman's, and that's where I get
Oh.
my jewelry from Joanne.
Oh.
And she and her sister Gina, and we played together and playing Barbies on the stoop, and her mom would watch out for me, and my mom would watch out for them, and God help you if you did anything wrong, because they let each other's parents know.
But you didn't
so.
do anything wrong,
I
right?
was pretty good.
You're
I was
pretty-
pretty good. Yeah, pretty good as a kid.
You never got in trouble? Come on.
No, I got in trouble, but you get the switch. You know, they take the,
You
the
get the
switch
switch?
off the. We had
The plant of the
off our bushes. We had like boxwoods all around the house, hedges, and my mother would break a switch off right across the legs.
Yeah,
You didn't do that again.
Saves money. You don't have to buy a dog.
No.
Oh.
And my father would be buck a hand. And they
So
give
what
you the
was
buck a
that time
hand.
when you were that age and you got into some trouble? What happened?
Oh, I probably
No,
came
probably.
home
You gotta tell
late.
me a
I don't
real
even
story.
remember.
You don't remember getting in
No,
trouble?
I don't even remember. I remember, maybe mouthing off.
You
or
were so good.
I was pretty good. My brothers, I'll tell you.
Oh.
But they were like they looked like Fonzie. It was that era.
They got the
they
hair
had the
on.
hair back and the
Oh.
collars up and hot rods and
Were they protective of you? Like,
pretty much so.
care of you?
But there was a lot of difference between us.
Oh.
One brother is 13 years older than me. The other one is 10 years older than me.
oh,
So
wow. So you're like
yeah.
a baby there.
yeah, I was the real baby. I remember one time, though, there was Shrewsbury Street. There was a place which maybe your viewers would remember called Speedy's. The Busadas owned it, George and Marion, and it was a car hop, which they'd drive in, and the girls would come out on roller skates.
Oh, and bring you
Yeah.
the food and whatever?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember my brother had a really cool car. I think it was a Studebaker, but it was two-toned. It wasn't really a sports car, but it kind of looked like it. And I remember I hid in the back seat, and I popped up when he got to Speedy.
What?
So
He didn't know you were there?
he didn't know I was there. So I was like a castaway. He was not happy with me. Yeah.
And then what, he just took you back? Or
Oh
did
yeah, he took me back.
Oh.
Yeah. Let
Was
my
he
mother know.
alone or was he with the dates
Yeah, I
or
think he was
something?
going to pick up somebody, so I
Oh,
kind of
okay.
ruined his plans.
And
And I
you-
remember prior to that, when I was younger, he used to be. My brother Billy was the closest to me in age, and used to babysit for me a lot. I think my brother was in the Marines by then, and my mother told us never. I could not ride on the handlebars of Billy's bike. Do not ride on the handlebars of the bike. So she went out, and I was riding on the handlebars of Billy's bike, and came into the driveway. He, took a sharp corner. I fell off. My leg went into the spokes of the bike, and ripped a bunch of skin off my ankle, and I remember, oh my God, it was a mess. And I remember my brother Billy saying, don't cry, don't make any noise, don't make any noise. But oh man, it was awful. I still have the scar.
It
So,
went
God will get you.
Between
Yeah, my
like where
leg
the
went
wheel
right
is,
into the
between the
spokes.
stick and
yeah,
the wheel. That
yeah,
happened. That exact same thing happened to my little brother.
yeah,
Because he was jumping on somebody else's bike.
yeah.
And I kept telling him, man, he stopped doing that. And he jumped one last time and his legs went,
Yeah.
one of them went right in between there. And
Yeah,
it's not
just
fun.
sliced it. So I remember
Yeah.
that. And I remember another time my mother would say, now, don't jump on the couch.
Yeah.
And as soon as she left, we'd jump on the couch like a trampoline.
Of course.
And we broke it.
Oh.
And Billy kept saying, don't tell Mom, don't tell Mom. And as soon as my mother came home, I told her.
So you're like, whatever they say not to do, you do.
Well, it's a couple times, yeah.
Yeah.
There was another time I hated thunderstorms. My mother used to tell the story that when the 1953 tornado came through, it was a pretty bad tornado. No one knew what it was. My dad had a taxi company then, a town taxi, and he was trying to get home. He said he could see the tornado going. He was on Belmont Hill in Worcester, and he could see the tornado in Shrewsbury, going through Shrewsbury.
Wow.
So he was trying to get home, and they lived in a little house on Grafton Street in Shrewsbury at the time. And my brothers were out playing. My mother was pregnant with me, and she went out, and she's trying to get them in, and everybody just was standing in the street watching this because they didn't know what it was. And she was trying to get them in the house, and she was so scared. So I used to be petrified, and still don't like thunderstorms, but I mean petrified, scream, holler, hide. And I think I said it's because you went out and you were scared when you were pregnant
And you
with
were
me.
in there, huh?
But one time we had a terrible thunderstorm, and I would hide and go to sleep. So I was laying on the couch with my blanket over me, and my mother ran out and got the clothes, because then you put it on the clothesline. You didn't have a dryer. And she threw the clothes on top of me. She didn't see me.
Yeah.
And I fell asleep. and the thunderstorm was over. Nobody could find me. My little red shoes were out
no.
on the bulkhead, and we have a pond at the end of the street. So they were frantic. So they called the police. All the police were looking for me. They were gonna drag the pond. And I woke up and I went outside, and my mother's outside crying, and I'm going, "What's the matter? Where have you been?"
Oh no! How old were you then? Like,
Maybe 3. Yeah.
oh my goodness! That must happen to almost every 3-year-old, something like that, to every 3-year-old out there.
Yeah. So I remember stories like that. But it was a great childhood. We didn't have a lot.
Sounds like it.
But we didn't know we didn't have a lot, so it didn't really matter.
Yeah,
you
you
know?
don't know those things.
Yeah.
Like you live in, my younger daughter, when we moved from Forest Street to the new house that we're at,
Yeah.
she said, "Boy, I really miss the house. I really like that, living in the house." And I said, "Don't you like this one better?" She said, "No, I really love that," because she was little when she was
And you
little.
have good memories.
Yeah, she
It's
has
not
great memories.
it's not the possessions. It's
Yeah.
the feeling that you get, or
Yeah.
the closeness that you feel. And we had a lot of fun. It was 5 of us in a little cottage that my dad built with one
Your dad
tiny
built it?
bathroom. Yeah, my dad built it.
Wow.
With one tiny bathroom. But my uncle lived on one side, my uncle Armando, and my uncle Michael lived in back of him, and my cousin Dominic and my auntie Martha and her husband Tony lived there, and my auntie Lena, and
Wow.
I mean we were all
Everybody
together.
was in
Everybody
there.
was together. It was like little Mastro Giovanni land,
Must
and we
you-
had fun. And the
oh, that
gardens,
must
we
have
had
been-
huge gardens because that's what you'd can it for the winter,
Yeah.
and tomatoes and lettuce and even corn my father used to grow, and squash. We used to get zucchinis like this.
Wow.
you
So
know.
he was a good
Yeah.
farmer.
Yeah,
too, huh?
he always had a garden
Wow.
up until his late 80s. And when he told us to rototill over the garden, I knew that he was failing because he couldn't do the
Oh.
garden anymore. So,
Oh, so,
yeah, yeah. And he used to ride his bike all over, too. He used to
So-
ride with me. And
so he was asking you to rototill it when he was 80.
yeah, well, when he said to just rototill it over,
Yeah.
that he wasn't going to grow anymore. He was
Because I'm
he was
like-
probably in his late 80s.
I'm
yeah.
in my early 50s, and I'm asking all the kids to do it my yard, so I don't know.
Oh,
is that
he
like-
loved and Spags was at the top of the street.
Yeah.
So we used to go to Spags and get our tomatoes. And he and Mr. Spag grew up together.
Mm.
He got his name, they called him Spaghetti Head. My father used to call him Spaghettini.
Why?
And they were good friends. I guess he loved spaghetti as a kid, but
Oh, okay.
they all grew up together. And my dad remembered when he started Spags, it was a very small store at the top of our street. And he said they all used to watch the store for him when Spag would go buy merchandise and, put it in the store. So they were good friends. I remember Mr. Spag used to always give me a quarter and say, "Oh, you're Pat's kid." So
Oh, is that right?
yeah. And actually, I remember meeting both Kennedy brothers, John and Robert Kennedy, at Spags
Wow.
during a campaign when I was a very little girl.
When
yeah.
they weren't even that big then.
Yeah, no, but I
Wow.
remember them. My
Wow.
dad loved the Kennedys. He just,
Oh,
so-
he must have been heartbroken when
yeah,
that
oh yeah, it was
happened, yeah.
awful. That was a horrible day. I remember my dad picking me up at school. He came to pick me up. I remember the teachers crying, and my mom was crying when I get home. That was a terrible day. It still brings me to tears whenever I see that.
Yeah, when I saw a
Yeah.
documentary about that,
Yeah.
and people are mourning
Oh, it's
really seriously
horrible.
with that, because it's a terrible thing
Yeah,
anyway. But
yeah, but he was from
loved by-
Massachusetts. He was the first Catholic president. So my father, was very.
Had a picture of him in the.
Oh yeah, everybody
Yes.
had a picture on the
Everybody had-
wall. Everyone had a picture
Yeah.
of President Kennedy on the wall. Yeah.
Yeah, I have one of Ross Perot in my.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, you're not talking politics.
No, I have the Beatles, so.
Good jokes, good joke. Well, that's great, Jeannie. So, you are right now. You used to work or the Hebert candy.
Yeah, I married
Yeah.
Ron Hebert. I met him when I was 12.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to go to the town hall dances.
Wow,
And Ron was in a band there.
you're living it up early, huh?
Yeah, well, that's okay. I couldn't get in cars with boys, of course. So
Okay.
my father would come pick me up or
Well, Italian.
he would send my Uncle Peter,
Yeah.
who was a Shrewsbury cop, who would come in uniform to pick me up. So it would be like he'd walk in and they called me Patsy Jean. So Patsy Jean. And I'd turn around, any guy who was dancing with or whatever would say, bye. See you later. You know?
Right. What, 13? Back then
Yeah,
it
around
was okay.
13.
13,
Yeah.
14,
Yeah.
you were like, nobody.
But, yeah. So,
Oh.
yep. But I'm a real animal lover. As I said, we always had animals as kids growing up. And,
How do we go from being at a party to animals so
well,
quickly?
thinking
like
of
that?
the Hebert Candy Mansion. And
Yeah, well, I was
had
still,
the
I
elephants.
was still
and,
interested
yeah.
in hearing about this party scene, though. That's a,
Oh, it was
still-
no party scene.
No?
No, I was very, believe me, I was not a wild person
Well,
at all.
well, you went out dancing, and then your father,
Yeah, at
being an Italian.
Town hall dances,
Town
yeah.
hall dances.
Yeah.
So he must have been somewhat strict, a strict kind of a guy.
Oh, very
when he-
strict, yeah. I was not allowed to get in cars with boys or go
Which is
to,
okay.
yeah, could only go to indoor movies and be picked up, dropped off, and, you know,
Okay.
yeah.
And you follow the rules.
I did follow the rules because you'd get the back of hand if you didn't.
Well, how do you know you get the back of the hand if you always follow the rules? It must have been
Well,
a time
believe
when you
me, I
didn't,
didn't
so
want to
you got
find
the
out.
back of the hand.
I didn't want to find out the back of hand because I saw my brothers would get the back of hand.
Back of hand, is
Yeah.
that what they called it?
Yeah, you're gonna get the back of hand.
What about the meals? Are they good meals?
Oh
Your mother
yeah,
make some
yeah.
really
My
good
mom
meals?
wasn't. My mom was British, so she used to boil everything.
Oh.
So my dad cooked a lot, and he taught her how to
nice.
make Italian food, which was good. Sundays were great. We always had pasta and gravy and meatballs, and my mother could make great lasagna. She knew how to make really good sauce, and of course we lived in an Italian neighborhood, so
Yeah.
you know I'd get like my girlfriend Joanne and Gina, her grandmother Noni, I call her Noni, like that. I'm Noni to my grandkids now,
Noni.
and Nonna, her grandfather, and you know they'd make pizzelles on the stove, the cookies, and we make Italian cookies, and it's very traditional. My mom would make sausage. My mother had that sausage maker.
Really?
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
Kramer
Yeah.
made sausage
yeah.
too.
Oh really?
Kramer and Newman. Yeah.
Oh yeah. No,
They
my
started
mother
doing
made.
it, but she
yeah.
made better sausage than
Yeah, my mother and my father. And then for Christmas, my dad used to make all the friends little packages of cream de mint, grenadine, and, oh God, what's the white one?
What's cream de mint? Is that
Cream
the
de mint
candy
is
or-
a liqueur,
Oh.
and it's green. Grenadine was red, and then it was like a sambuca, I think, because it was white. So he'd put little packages together for Christmas bottles that were
And he
red,
made
white, and
those?
green. Yeah.
Wow.
And my mother would package them up and wrap them and put ribbon on them, and it was like the Italian flag, red, white, and green.
Yeah.
And everybody got gifts at Christmas.
So then you have to like distill that or something, or is that?
Oh,
is that a
I don't know
process,
how
like-
but he made
That's
it.
amazing.
He made it. He made wine. He made beer.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
So did you pick up any of this stuff, like the cooking and the?
Oh,
whatever?
cooking, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, no, I'm not, I don't like the taste of liquor. And I think it's because when I was little, I went down the cellar to taste the wine, to taste the beer my father was making, and he had a hose in it, one of those, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And I got way too much, and I was
Ooh.
choking, and my father saw me, and he was laughing. He thought it was hilarious. And I
Oh.
have never liked the taste of beer. I can't stand it.
That's
so.
probably why my brother doesn't like the taste of kerosene. My older brother.
Why did he?
'Cause he did. You know what he did one time?
What? He's
You
just
know how
siphon.
you put he tried to siphon
Yeah.
one time?
Oh.
Well, it actually drank some of it.
Oh my
so-
gosh.
And I saw him
Yeah.
turn pale in his face. Oh boy, you don't know how to do that.
Yeah. So I kind of did the same thing with the beer. My dad had
Yeah?
a big crock that he used to make
So
the
that
beer.
kind
in.
of
Yeah, that's it. I've never. I can't stand
never
the taste
again?
of beer. No.
Bad memory.
Yeah, bad memory. Yeah, hated smoking. My mother was beautiful. My mother was, there was a club in Shrewsbury called Mickey Green's. Mickey Green, I guess, was a fighter, was a boxer. And she was the hostess at his club. And my dad owned the taxi company.
Yeah.
And he used to bring fares or pick up fares there, and that's how they met. So, yeah. But she used to smoke. And I
Oh.
hated it.
Oh.
So as a little girl, I used to throw away her cigarettes,
Ooh.
and finally she got so sick of it one day, she said to me, "I will stop smoking, but if I ever catch you with a cigarette,
Yeah.
I'll kill you."
Well, that's nice
so
of you.
Yeah, so I never smoked.
She didn't
ever.
punish you for that or anything like that. She
No.
was like, oh,
No.
don't do it again.
But I hated it. I never could stand the.
And she stopped.
Yeah, she did. She did.
Oh, that's very good.
Yeah.
Nice. You know, I was just looking at the background.
Oh, it's Italy.
It's a nice Italian.
Yeah, nice Italiano.
Italiano there.
Yeah.
Do you go back there once in a while?
Oh,
you
yeah.
know?
We used to go almost every year with my dad. My mom didn't go. My mom used to go see her brother in England. And I didn't go with her. They'd say, "You want to go with mom or you want to go with dad?" And I go, England, Italy.
England or Italy?
Italy.
You want to go to Italy? Yeah.
So we'd go to Italy a lot, see the relatives from Sparanese, which is outside of Naples.
Mm-hmm.
And always had fun, good food, traveled.
Wow,
Yeah,
obviously,
it was
yeah.
great. Funny thing is, first thing you get there, you get to go see all the relatives.
Yeah.
But they bring you to the cemetery to see those relatives.
Oh. Which is okay, right?
Yeah,
Some
you go visit
memories
them, and everyone is in crypts above ground. They're not buried. They were above
They're
ground.
like on top,
Yeah.
inside of something
Yeah, a
above,
crypt, yeah.
like cement thing,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, and there are pictures on the outside.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And candles and the whole bit, and yeah, so that was a big deal. And see the relatives, like all the cousins and everyone, and that we'd have to go to everybody's house to eat, and so it was
That
great.
sounds like a lot of fun.
Oh, it was a lot of
How many times
fun.
did you go, like when you were young? Do you remember?
I don't even remember.
A lot of times.
Yeah,
You really went frequently.
yeah.
Nice.
Travel on the train, and so it was really fun.
So when you go now as an adult, you see a lot of the things that you saw back then, bring back memories.
Yeah, when I went with my dad when I was older, and my daughter brought my daughter with me after I was married, we kind of did the same thing. We'd go to where he was from, which was the old walled part of the city.
Mm-hmm.
And, the memories of my mother used to get water here, because around Italy, there's fountains everywhere, or there's little spigots of water that are always dripping. I guess a little fountain,
Yeah.
but it's always decorative. There's always a tile around it or whatever, and the water was very pure there. So you'd see ladies filling baby bottles with water, and I got to see my dad's house, which was all stucco, very small, but you remember things differently.
Yeah.
Things don't seem so small until you're grown up and you look at it. Like my parents' house never seemed small to me, but then
Until you saw it as
Yeah.
an adult, yeah.
yeah, so
Huh.
it was like midgets lived there.
Yeah.
Tiny, yeah.
Like the Paul Revere
It's like,
house.
how did we all live here? with one teeny little bathroom,
I
all
think Paul
5 of
Revere
us.
had like 19 kids in that one-room house. or
Good
something like
Lord, he was a busy man, huh?
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
boy, oh boy. But
So
no,
don't
lots
complain.
of fun. Yeah, lots of fun. I love Italy. The people are very friendly.
Do you know Italian?
I always start with "Sono dispiaciuto e parlo italiano un poco." I'm very sorry. I only speak a little Italian.
Oh, what was the first 3 words?
Sono dispiaciuto. I'm very
Sono
sorry.
dispiaciuto.
Yeah. Io parlo. I only speak.
But you don't start with that, right? Until somebody talks to you, right? You don't just
Right,
go
but
around.
they know you're trying, so they'll help you. But there's dialettos. There's like 35 different dialects. So my
Right,
father spoke a dialect. So when he would open his mouth in Rome to speak, they'd go, "Oh, Napolitans," because he was speaking Naples dialect.
Oh, right.
And it's very different from one end to the other. Like in Rome, cat, for instance, is like in Spanish, gato. But in Napolitans, it's uata. And my father told me a funny story when he and his brother were fighting with each other in the kitchen. And my grandmother, who I never met, my noni, she passed away during World War II. They were yelling at each other, what? And my noni said in Italian, "He's under the stove." The cat, like, where's the cat? He's under the stove.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because she never learned English.
Oh,
Yeah.
so it's like
Yeah.
what? It's
And I remember
cat
my
in-
my grandfather. I remember him. He was
Yeah.
a cute little guy.
yeah.
And he used to smoke cigars, and he'd always give me the rings.
Oh,
So I used
yeah?
to wear the rings.
Paper.
Yeah, the little paper rings. So, and sometimes he'd buy me the bubblegum cigars. They were always pink and blue because people bought them probably when someone had a baby. So I always got a pink or a
Yeah.
blue bubblegum cigar. Yeah, so I enjoyed being with him. And he used to call me nice gal. You nice gal.
gal.
Nice
You
gal.
gal.
Nice gal.
You like the cigar?
Nice gal.
Oh, that must be. I don't have like I think I have from Venezuela, as you know, and I don't have that many memories. Like I was there till I was 14, so I don't have like wonderful. I mean, I have
Yeah.
some memories, but not. You seem that's good that you're able to go back and.
Yeah,
do these
we,
things.
we had fun. And my Uncle Tony, who was the oldest of the family, he was the oldest boy. My father was more one of the younger boys. My father was the last to pass away, and he passed away at 92, 10 years ago. And my Uncle Tony used to play the mandolin. And, you know, if you went to a funeral or a wedding, whatever, there was always a big party afterwards. We used to have a lot of parties at our house with the family. And Uncle Tony would play the mandolin, and people would dance and sing, and it was really fun. And there was always food, and food, you know. Pasta fazool and pasta and sauce and bread and pizza. And every Sunday night, my dad made pizza, homemade pizza.
Wow.
Yeah.
So. It's a lot of wonderful things. Like
Yeah.
right now, life is a little different.
It is very different. I try to bring back some of the traditions. Like Christmas Eve, we do the Feast of the Seven Fishes, and the whole family comes over.
What is the Feast of the Seven
It's
Fishes?
7 fish dishes that there's no meat on Christmas Eve. 7 different types of fish dishes.
Yeah, yeah.
I've modernized it a little bit. We don't do the bacala, which is the salted fish. My father used to like that, but not too many people eat the bacala. And I don't, I don't do the smelts anymore, but a lot of people do like
What's
the
the
smelt.
smelts? What's
Smelts
that?
are little fish, and
Yeah,
they would
okay.
fry them.
Yeah.
But I kind of modernize it, like we'll have lobster and
Oh,
shrimp and
okay.
mahi-mahi.
You know any good Italian jokes?
Well, I don't know. They'd probably be offensive now. Used
For
to
you,
say.
you're Italian.
Well, one my dad used to say that he used to always laugh at, and he'd
Yeah.
go, "How do you know when a helicopter is Italian?"
How?
You know, I go, "I don't know," and he go, it goes, "Wah, wah, wah, wah. Guinea, 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 wop."
That is offensive.
Yeah. So I said it's probably offensive now, but then
Yeah.
we used to laugh.
Back then,
you know, but you can't say
Back
that
then, you
anymore.
could laugh and not be afraid.
Yeah, because we were laughing at ourselves.
Yeah.
But you know, people did call you that. I was called a guinea and a wop, and
Oh.
you know, yeah.
Like here, or
Oh yeah, yeah,
oh,
yeah. Oh yeah. We
that didn't
Yeah.
probably didn't feel good.
well, I don't know. It didn't. I don't know. Everybody.
You
We were
didn't pay
kids.
attention to
Everybody
it.
called
"Oh,
everybody
what the
names,
heck?"
and that's
It's just
it.
like,
We didn't really,
yeah.
you know. And sometimes it was just in playing or whatever. I don't.
Yeah.
I never took it as
Was
offensive.
it somewhat in a sense almost like
Like a pet name or
like
something.
yeah,
yeah.
like funny enough, like a term of endearment kind of a
Yeah,
deal. It wasn't like
yeah. Oh,
offensive.
silly guinea, or
Yeah, yeah.
or that's a guinea thing, or that's, you know. But today it's interpreted differently, and
Well,
you have
yeah,
to
yeah.
you have to watch what you say.
But you know, this is the interesting thing about
Yeah.
that particular subject is that back then you understood it between yourselves
Yeah.
that it was something that I'm not trying to offend you. I'm just
Yeah.
being casual, familiar
Yeah,
with
it
you.
was,
you
it was
know?
just friendship.
Of course, if you say if they said it with the intent to offend you, then that
Yeah.
would be wrong.
Oh,
but
that would be different. It's
but
the
it's funny.
tone.
It's funny,
the
yeah.
tone and the intention.
It's funny how
Yeah.
that could sort of be a part of the lingo and not be offensive because there wasn't the tone, yes, or
Yeah.
the spirit behind
Yeah.
it. That is that makes it the offense, you know. So
Yeah.
but now it's like don't even because of the history, I guess now, you know.
No.
No?
You know, you just have to be careful what you say now.
Yeah.
It's just interpreted differently, and yeah.
Yeah, because
And you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the last thing you want to do. So.
Well, I know a good Italian joke though.
Oh, you do? Good.
I heard it from an Italian.
All right, then it must be really good.
But she said, he said, what is the difference between
a regular actuary and a Sicilian actuary. It's a regular actuary can tell you the time that a certain amount of people are going to die. And a Sicilian actuary will give you their names.
I was going to say, I knew that was coming.
You knew that?
I knew that was coming. Yeah, we used to say, my father would go, oh, Siciliano, molto pericoloso, very dangerous.
Siciliano, the
Sicilian,
Sicilians,
Siciliano, oh,
Really? You used to
molto
say that?
pericoloso.
They
Yeah,
had that
because they had the
reputation?
the Black
Oh.
Hand was the mafia then. And I mean, that's why, they left Italy, because they were starving. There was a lot of corruption going on, and my father told stories about Mussolini, and my dad
Oh.
my nonna was very, very proud to be an American citizen. He had his naturalization papers framed and hanging on the kitchen wall. And the kids growing up, they didn't really speak fluent Italian in later life, because he would say to them when they'd speak Italian, "You American now, you speak the English.
This
You
is your
American."
father?
My grandfather.
Grandfather.
My
Your
grandfather would say
Oh.
that to the kids.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And all of my, I would say 90% of my uncles were in the service during World War II. My one uncle was in Anzio. My dad was in the South Pacific, in the
Wow.
Army Air Corps. My other uncle was in the Army, and he was in Europe as well. So, so they all, were in the service. They were very proud to be American, and naturalized citizens. So, yeah. They saw this as a country that, could help them to do better,
Well, tell me about these elephants then.
Oh, well,
That's a good segue to the elephants.
yeah, my late husband loved elephants.
Yeah.
He really loved elephants. So we
And
used
candy.
to... candy. We loved
Candy
candy.
and
We used to
elephants.
make a lot of candy.
Yeah.
But we were doing some charity work at the Hole in the Wall Gang in Connecticut, which is a camp for children. Paul Newman ran. We used to make candy bars for Newman's Own, actually. So that's how we got associated with it. And when I was there, I met someone who had an elephant. He had an elephant.
Wait a minute, this was where?
At the Hole in the Wall Gang. It was a camp for children with cancer.
So you met somebody there who happened to have an elephant?
He brought an elephant in to entertain the children on the
okay.
same day
Right.
I was
Wasn't
there.
like you walking around, hey, this guy's got an elephant.
Yeah,
isn't
a
it?
big elephant. But it wasn't in the best of shape.
Oh.
And we get to talking, and he told me how he had rescued these 4 African elephants from a defunct zoo in the Midwest, and they had 27 pitchfork wounds, and the bottoms of their
Oh, my
feet were
goodness.
rotting from standing in their own waste. They had stab wounds. They were horribly malnourished and very mistreated. So even though that elephant didn't look like he was in the best shape to me, he was in really good shape compared to what he had been. But
Wow.
they needed to make money to pay them, and this nice young man who had 2 children, a wife and 2 children, needed money to take care of them. So I said to him, well, why don't you come back to the Candy Mansion with me? They lived in a trailer, and they had the elephants in an 18-wheeler that they had made stalls in. And I said, come back to the Candy Mansion with me, and let's figure it out. Let's see what we can do to help you. So it was like I got back home and said to my husband, look what followed me home. I brought you an elephant. So come to find out,
got
he
a
had,
couple of elephants
he had
with me?
4 elephants.
4
There were
elephants.
4 of them. And they were all rescued. One was actually from Benson's Wild Animal Farm, which maybe some of you remember Benson's Wild Animal Farm. It was in Hudson, New Hampshire. And it went out of business. And this young man's father, I guess, was the vet there. So, and this young man also worked at Clark's, with Clark's Bears, which is another attraction up in New Hampshire. So he came back, and we talked with him. We said, well, you can stay here. Let's see what we can do to, help you and maybe raise some money for you. And they also were working the elephants up at York, Maine.
York,
They had
Maine,
2 of them
yeah.
up there.
Yeah.
And they started bringing Willie over to Southwick's Zoo. And Justine Southwick Brewer was very kind to them. She had a house there that no one was using, and she
Oh.
let the family stay in the house. And Willie worked there. They take very good care of their animals at Southwick's. They're wonderful people.
Southwest Sioux.
Yeah, right in Mendon. And so they were at the Candy Mansion in the winter. They were at Southwick's in the Elephant Barn, sometimes working at Southwick's. And it just wasn't, it wasn't a good situation really for the family. We really needed to place these elephants. They had come from the same cull, so we didn't really want to separate them except the one from Benson's. And no one would take them all.
Start to take an elephant.
Yeah, they wouldn't. And so we tried to get Disney to take all of them, because when Disney showed an interest, and they, the smallest one, Dancer, was horribly abused, and Willie was the largest and the most beautiful, the best display elephant, as they said.
Okay.
So they definitely would take him, but we had to find homes for the others. So one went to the Arkansas Preserve for elephants. One went to the Philadelphia Zoo. And then Dancer, the little one that Willie always protected. People thought she was a baby elephant, but her growth was stunted because she was so abused. And Willie would, if you were a new person and he didn't know you, he would get between you and Dancer to make sure no one was going to hurt her. And he didn't try to hurt you. He just made sure he got between you. And once he knew you were okay, and he would move away, and it was all right.
Yeah.
But and Black Beauty Ranch took Dancer. So Brett drove down there. That was the young man. It was like a Christmas Eve, probably about 20 years ago now. And we had to do the only way Disney would take Willie was we had to prove he was a viable breeder. So we had to do a sperm test on him.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. You haven't lived.
Who's
You've done
we?
a sperm test. Well, there was a vet that came out, but,
Yeah.
A
sperm test on Willie. What
Yeah.
a name, too, huh?
Yeah, Willie. So he's a great elephant. He used to
That's
flip me up on his back every morning, and we used to wash them.
So did it work
The
out?
hose. Yeah, it worked out.
Oh, good.
It worked out. He's got a little boy
They
who's
freed
not so
Willie.
little anymore. Yeah. Well, he lives at Animal Kingdom. We had to have one of his tusks removed because they were abscessed. So if you ever go to Animal Kingdom,
So he's there now?
he's there now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's probably about 50 now.
And this was
50
all
years
through
old.
a lot of your efforts to get
Yeah.
these
Oh,
elephants
yeah. It
placed.
took a lot of
Yeah.
efforts, a lot of phone calls, a
great.
lot of connections, a lot of people
You always
helping, a
liked
big
animals.
chain.
That's why you always
Oh, yeah, I
liked
love animals. I love animals. I have a charity for animals called Pet Rock that we've been running for 20 years to raise money for breed rescues and shelters.
Why did you call it Pet Rock? I'm curious.
Because it's a celebration of pets and rock music.
Oh, okay.
So there's bands playing, and my partner is in a band, Charlene Arsenault, my partner in Pet Rock. Charlene Arsenault, we've been doing it for 20 years, and she was in a band, so we decided to have bands come and entertain while they were there. And then we have, over 150 breed rescues and shelters that come, and we have all kinds of activities going on, and we raise money, and we give all the money away, and keep a little seed money for the next year, and
Okay.
yeah.
So we have a little bit of time, so I wanted to ask you, if you think about this question about what is that if somebody said, this is the thing that I would dream to be doing right now with my life, what would that be?
Well, one thing I've always wanted to do, and I hopefully I'll get to do it. I'd like to go to Kenya
Kenya?
and spend some time with the elephants.
Oh.
there. Yeah, and maybe volunteer with the elephants. There's a lot of orphaned elephants because
Oh.
of the unfortunate situation with the poaching there.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's pretty bad. So there are places where they take the babies and nurture them.
Oh,
Until they're
that's
old
nice.
enough
Where
to
did you
release
find
them.
out about this? You don't-
Well, it's on PBS a lot and literature and the internet. There's a lot, and there's a lot of different helpful vacations you can take. You can volunteer your time to maybe help with the turtles, or do marine work, or do cleanups. And that's something I would really like to do, is to work with animals or elephants. And,
Oh.
yeah.
Ah. What kind of animals do you have at home right now?
I have 2 dogs at
Two
home right
dogs?
now. I always had large dogs, really large dogs, usually white German Shepherds, and they were rescued too. The last white German Shepherd I had, someone had beaten terribly with a 2x4,
Oh, man.
and we had to get his knees replaced. He was good for about 6 years, and then his spine collapsed, and we had a wheel cart made for him. So he used to zoom around. He loved it. And he did very well, but unfortunately had a pulmonary embolism, and he died in my arms.
Man. All right.
Sweet dog, Spencer. So now I have 2 rescued dogs. They're the love of our lives.
Okay.
A little bit smaller. We bought a house in Florida, in Naples, Florida, and I thought, well, let's get a dog I can put on the plane.
Mm-hmm.
And I fell in love with this dog online, Bella, and Min Pin Rescue, right? So I figured, well, she'll be small enough, a miniature pinscher. And I looked at the picture and I said, this dog looks like a German short-hair pointer, but she had a Min Pin head. So I said, well, I don't know. She's spotted. Send her up, and had her sent up, picked her up in Connecticut. And I said, yep, this is a German short-hair pointer. So she won't fit on the plane. She's about 40 pounds, but she's a German
That's a
short-hair
big
pointer.
dog.
Oh, she's about
40
big.
pounds? I
Yeah,
guess I
she's
don't
not
know
that
about
big.
dogs that
Yeah.
well.
Well, my dogs were 110 pounds, so this was a
Whoa.
little dog to me. And she's got a Min Pin head and behind. So the vet says she's equally distributed. Front and back are Min Pin, in the middle is German Shorthair Pointer. But she's the sweetest dog. She watches television. She's hilarious. She'll see a dog on television. She'll go barking crazy, and when it changes scene, she runs behind the TV to see where he went. And she's a great dog. We love her. And then last year, I get sent this picture of this sweet little guy. He's a Whippet Beagle. His name is Dave. He was a refugee from Hurricane Irma. And
So you're going to stop collecting dogs now?
no,
Oh, okay.
no, this is probably it. But he was going to be euthanized because he was older,
Oh.
and they needed to make room for the other dogs. So those are the dogs that get the axe. And he was personality plus, so they kept moving him to another shelter. So we got up to the shelter that I got Bella from in South Carolina, and they sent me his picture, and they said, this is probably the end of the line for Dave. So I said, send him up. We'll see if it works. They love each other. Oh, my
Oh, that's
gosh. They
great.
play. He jumps, and he's a whippet, so he just jumps over the coffee table, jumps over the end table. He's a joyful little guy, and they sleep together. They love each other. They're great friends. And it's always good to have 2 dogs because they keep each other company.
Yeah, I have 2 cats, but it's a lot of cleanup. But I think we're getting
Oh,
to.
well, that went by
I
quick.
love them though. We're getting to the wrapping up almost, but so I figure maybe we could end on a cheerful.
Yeah.
It is a cheerful note, but what's your favorite Italian phrase?
Oh,
Capisci?
te amo.
Tamo? Oh, I know what that means.
Te amo.
That means spaghetti and meatballs.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Te amo.
That means I love you.
Right.
Correct?
Te amo.
Te amo. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Jeannie.
Buonasera.
Buonasera.
Good night.
Buonasera.
Buonasera.
Thank
Ci
you very
vediamo. See you later.
¿Cómo te llamo? What?
Ci vediamo. See you later.
Ci vediamo.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to let you close the show, but first I'm going to say thank you very much
Ah.
for joining me. It was a pleasure. I hope it was a pleasure to the people there. You can
Grazie
close.
mille. Grazie mille. Buonasera.
We'll see you again next week.